As usual, this little lady, this little mom, does know how to start her day, and her day really seeks her. Now, when she gets up, it's an everlasting covenant based on something simple as her notes. She's been noting these things this way, and came to the realization that it cannot be anything but joyful, perhaps for this moment. But in nature, it's kind of a way of saying, "Let me slip to the surroundings a bit." Isn't that pretty? And pretty it is. And this of Alabama. I don't know what is of nature of Alabama besides what is of nature in places like California, where I was concretized. And oftentimes where that was, it was in a droll position. If the girl mentioned that there were too many attachments to this of her, which is quite mental. And because of that part, it really strikes this way, California. And examining that part would say that that it's probably so direct that it has to be eliminated by how this type of sunshades kind of get away from her. By losing that knot, it really got to damage these parts and left nothing there. So I barely was able to get a photographic of it. Now, once we're dealing with them quickly, you would realize that this is the hands of mom, and oftentimes with that what was shown makes sense now, and oftentimes we cannot see the chronomet. The chronomet I am not filming that from here. I'm filming it from that type of phone. So that type of phone, I guess I will have a snap of it. I don't know. I have a similar phone there. So let's try to get to that quickly. Okie doke. So this is probably similar right here. This type of Galaxy S25. This would be an A19. This one, she obviously purchased in France. This one here. The one that I'm holding, it's of that silver gold type, which is of the same quality except A9 A says and S25. So this S25 cannot be filled. I will probably take a shot of it later. Now, when it has to send no messages. It just deals with her it. That's her it phone. Now, she is not looking for that type of cover. Perhaps she is. I don't know. It probably likes it without the cover. And oftentimes, if it concerns that of which popped in the head of the child, would say I probably do, but is not allowed, it seems. Now, is it allowed, that part there? And I have to think if it's really something of that nature I'm looking for. So it will type of give you some heads up and see those things. Now, we can see some things going on there, but it's part of this lady's life. Now it's 8:33 in the morning. I have an alarm going off. I have to turn that off on that type of phone and get back to what is that I am talking about. Now, based on understanding the hurts of this mom, the hurts could be something of a and man is not understanding it, so she had to get really direct. Now, when it comes to this part, we need to put that in another talk. This part quite important, but I guess I can really put it in something of that part there. And when it is, I have to analyze that that's put where the purchases of the crown are with this. And when it has that part there, this part here has this part in it. And oftentimes it has to probably have it in this part at all times, that purchase. And didn't say much about it. So we probably went past the purchase by as hurts of the child. That's way in a purchase, and could not deal with it, and kind of exploded a little on Facebook based on that type of broken leg that used mom servo in the ciel. Now when it comes to the flesh, that was a way of how it bowed. So the bow part will be something of a, this part here would be the bow part. So it would have that part man's thinking not. In other words, this something of this knob could be of that Lee, and that Lee would probably be found in part here, and that's what caused him. If he flees, then he has his strategy this way. He's thinking of something of this here. So this would say, I cannot accord this based on it doesn't have Lee. So if you see Lee here, then it becomes something this way only. So when you're having this, you would have a tiny knob. If you have done this to the land of Suriname, well, they're not able to get furniture. So you have to sense that it is there for the truth. Now, once we're figuring out purchase and broken legs, the first one that was against French, which is the Burton. So the girl probably seeked help there based on exclamation, and this could be what she's doing. Her it could be, and we are not imagining it, and could have sought help there. Now, once we get to purchase, and we got to broken litois would be something of this, of a litois, and have to kind of get faster. My eyes handled, which is that part of that, you would find it in the purchase. So once the solar is in the purchase this way, then we would have a problem with accessing the crown. Just saying so. You have to be able to get it. You just say. So you just say could be this part here. So Yoda, or not Dark Vader, Yoda, the little man with this part here. So it becomes complex, this Guyana, and has to overthrow that government. And the girl is not fit for those things based on something of this here. She's fit for it to be left alone. Now, living in Guyana becomes kind of a challenge. Why? Those parts could demand justice, and the justice could accept it, and the girl figures it out through New York. So I would have to say this could describalize it and cannot be scienced out and seek you guys to leave and bring in pup that have been blessed for it. In other words, you would prefer to bless those pup instead of doing your job, and there the dad will understand and knows what to do. So if he wasn't to touch and he didn't, then he has to be able to obey the voice of the child and not hurts of the child. He could be based on blasphemy. So if he senses that he will kill before, then this has to bite them up their thinking. So how does it do so? Are you waiting for the child? So these things of these will not be moved, of how to deal with disobedient Amerindian tribes. Understanding you caused the system of Guyana to fail, suspecting harshly, and has to be able to put you out. Now, when it comes to this part, you're not liking it, and they're not either. If he says poubelle, garbage, then it shuts the door on it and sees that man. If his privacy is a problem, then he has to be able to be waved out and put him there and closes the door. Now, once I move along with that part there, with that surprise, when we get to this type of USB, we could find Yoda in there gaining more money from this mom, and this type of solar doesn't know about it, and the banks would be gaining more money from this mom, and this part of this part here would be this completely, and has to deal with my eyes handled, the what you would say, with the obias of the Burnham's tribe. Now, once this becomes complicated, you may go now. Now, once these are franchise are taken care of, so franchise, so this could be franchise with something of purchase of Guyana, and is quite evil, this Apache you're thinking. So it says this justice seeks you through Greece, and they're not happy with this part here, which is the 1,000 years. So now they're sensing, I don't need to know 500 years era or 5,000 years era, at least not now when I'm dealing with what is of the Milan. So once I'm dealing with this part, I don't want to confuse my loins. So the Milan, this prophecy of 1,000 years, Jurassic child. She was born of a Negro in this degree. And once it is, these things has to be. Now, this is explaining why she's able to get to the alloy or the ketchup, the wheel ketchup part, based on this here, and based on how to conquer Guyana. Now, oftentimes it gets to the details, and I cannot be concerned with it. I will only be concerned with this Milan, of which she spent 5,000 Guyanese dollars for, which would be indicated here. Now, once it does it this way, she kind of grabs that type of throat to say this can get really angry with her. So she puts that away by doing these type of things. So if I did, I was probably not interested. Not, it just didn't get to her this way, and I had to face that part there. So now it will say, I don't want to deal with it that way. So it probably wants courts, and I have had it with courts. Now, when it gets to this type of tonsure, it could be based on this type of situation, purchase of this color, catching it, and has to deal with of this Milan, and has to be able to get just a tip of what is expected of her in the kingdom. So if I peep here, I would think this part is expected in the kingdom. So if you're constantly trying to rotten her toes, this part would sense animosity. So it would put these things there. So this part here, I'm sensing animosity of how that of the nation of the United States majority seeks to blind the ladies this type of left eye, and have to deal with it with a movie to understand what is it of nature they are seeking. So I would say, what is in nature? I guess this cannot be nature. This cannot be nature. When I peep, you find the grass in nature. So if they flee, then you're seeking too much, and that drowns you now. So it has to go to the courts. Now, because of it, it probably doesn't like it this way and seeks her pictures. So this needs a platform. Why I would get confused and having to deal with the library miles away, it's quite anti. So it and says she probably needs a platform based on what is this with this here. Now, do you want to learn of this to get to know the child? That's impossible. I have kids. So now it will say, if you are blaspheming, take it to the courts. So it would say, this has blasphemed, and if you're seeking repentance, the verdict is Lord. Extremely Lord, that's blasphemy. So the girl continues her work this way to say there's other people that needs to get out. And now once we get to that part, it cannot deal with purchase, and we would get it there. So if France suspect you have been that purchase, then you would be caught not having things of these, and your campings and your RVs are being dismantled and thrown out. The whole coast is being destroyed, and your bateaux, so see, so you may go now. And once that has been blasphemed this way, then it cannot deal with this here. So this would say, she explained that part. Now if I'm getting something here, then this part here was set at by La France many years ago, and puts things against that Texaco of why you are seeking us. So this part is revealing those things. So the girl moves, puts this aside, and only deal with her Milan. So the Milan would let them know how it's seeking their thinking. So I would say, based on the Samuel, the girl could have cubs and have juice. The juice could be found in this Lee here. So you may go. Now it can create with this here a kite here based on this part here found in my eyes hand. So when it is, the girl cannot do this and that at the same time. So it tells what is expected with this and this and this. Now oftentimes, because of the harshness of the reality of the shows, this type of father would present that part. Now in Milan, I have to seek my cubs, not I have to seek that part of me, which is my comfort. So it say Milan and the prophecy of Milan, Jurassic. So this could be very angry with that Milan, Italy, and it wipes away Milan's problems every day. If man is understanding it, then the girl will have to deal with a lawyer for this part. This part, if you're dealing with it for this here based on Milan, then this part will seek it France, and I am not getting France. Now if the girl said then Milan is part of my eyes handled. So who would determine that type of pelt would be somebody who has this in mind for the child based on this. Somebody has this in mind for the child based on this 5,000 as a 5, and could go into where blasphemies go, and another one of this for a purchase with a 25 cents coupe. So now it pelts hard. Now cannot seek to blame man. This is revealing to this mom alone. So that interesting one will come from something of this part of these type of people. And if you're putting it here no more, I don't want it. It has to go there and find who you have done this to. If you suspect it's the girl, well, this passage says they're trying to figure out, even with Turkish airline, who did you do this to? You're hoping you didn't do to the Russians, and have to get to them to figure out why are you not telling whoever shares why you have these type of monies here. And it probably even has that type of penny. That type of penny that she threw somewhere. This type of penny, you probably, and this is a dangerous one, attached to the seer. So now it will say, whose can possibly has things that are grass and cannot have it. So why did you take it there? So that will be determined in purchase and has to deal harshly with l'affront without the child accusing l'affront. In other words, it determines the births of the child. So as soon as you seek to attack those things, the blasphemies are real. Now it has to deal with this, and this only, he would say, but he cannot be, he has to step out. Now, to conclude, when it was a child, she was a child, and now she's an adult. She's an adult. When it's become a Negro, it could be in the purchase of La France, and it could be in that angle lacking, based on this here of the perfection of that, of this part here, is this part here, which will be the pact of that wolf. Now, when it situates that way, it has to send animosity to say he kills these things, so that's fine. It's called to be killed. It seems like the Bishes, for example. So if he surrenders, then those type of things has to be able to hit Mr. Macron and not survive Mr. Macron. This is not a dating scheme. Now, once we get to that part, it will send animosity. We don't send animosity. It deals with this here, and that could have broken her glasses and cannot pay his debt off with this type of ruse. And once those things are done, the girl gets knocked out and have to be able to sit somewhere. Now, sitting somewhere and everywhere, it's a problem when it comes to things of this. That kind of shines upon that, just to make sure that based on genetics, you're not seeking these things in the mental wellness center. You cannot be seeking these things, so it will be harsh. So if we're getting this type of British Empire in AD, it has to change immediately. And you will know that you will never want to date Negroes that way again. They're not there as your sacrificial lamb. You will find the whites of America had prepared themselves for it and doesn't want to do so. Now, when it comes to your mixture, take that part there. For all I know, that you could have used this for mixture, and this is why you're facing that problem and will be harshly examined. Why we cannot be getting to these type of surprises. In Suriname, those little fellow of the Indian Ocean has to go back. If you're seeking that, then it's probably in purchase, so we'll see. Now, because of that part, Guyana could seek to gnaw themselves, so we'll see how did you take your oils and throw it out? Apparently the NAF melted you. This type of burning is no joke, so it puts you out, puts America out, and where it burns, sometimes it creates those type of volcanic activities. So if you're sensing that you want this to be destroyed, then you probably built it with this of the British Empire in AD. And what is it of the steamer? You could not do, but could be in the purchase. So they're a land of trade. The rest may go and have to recognize this type of city mall could be possibly one of these also, and that's why you're not happy. When it comes to the Demerara Bank, it could be in purchase and not this part of the broken leg. See, and has to be able to be dealt with. Now, with the Scotia, it could be in the Milan based on having this purchase messed up, where it senses animosity with them and loves it. So it will say that you are dealing with a monster in yourself and has to leave this woman alone. Now, when it comes to this type of things there, it's a difficult task. So this reminisces these things up. It challenges these things. So you just have to suspect this warning cannot be from a simple woman. So he would seek to hit, and the hittings could affect this type of pup. So when the pup is completely ratatouille, then you would hit rock bottom because they cannot handle it. Your Kryla also, they cannot handle. You could have Kryla in this part, cannot handle it. So now you will sense that you're not dealing with simplicities of heaven and earth. Très bien. So it goes to 1000 prophecy of the 1,000 years. Now, it has to be spoken sometimes for man to understand these things, and only captures at the depth of that person. What is this? What history is pétillante with this lady? So it puts her well. Now, because of it, Angleterre, your trouble could be this also, because France, evil is not to that extent. With this lady, it can be. So you will sense that these type of mean-looking dudes ended up in the 13 who signs that declaration and could use this of Angleterre, of which dissuades this type of constitution after 500 years of histoire, based on this, not based on Saint-Saëns on her calendar. And that's probably going to be next, because it will explain fully why this cannot be attended really with this type of girl. So it cannot be exposed, this cannot be exposed, and the purchase, whatever not, exposes itself, but the births are evident. So it will say that you are seeking the mic, go and seek the mic. Now, where is it taking me this way? It does this to Greece based on this philosopher, so that the philosopher can recalculate where is this Milan prophecy of the Jurassic child taking her. And once I do this, then this part reveals it now. So oftentimes it has to take her to a place where she can discover why they hurt her, why they chose this for her, this type of environment, this for her, and why they cannot allow her to be in America. That path of chosen could be this path for this mom, and has to be able to recalculate. Cannot have figure yourself out alone. So it puts it against him. So when I get so that part is all about this here. It's all about this lawyer and nothing else, so that the lawyer stays away from the atrocities of this passé and concentrate on a future with this part here. Only this you have to concentrate on. Oftentimes when it is, you're not really knowing what it is. So it shuts the door, but we can possibly understand it with this revelation now. So they're sensing that this type of person is a way of dealing with the British. Now, when it is, I cannot be of help. So they will not be moved. They're suspecting. If Mama did, then she purchased another one. That one is more convenable because of those type of whippings. So she probably can tuck it. These are my little things here. Tuck it in there. And these type of things here, candles, I probably used it, but I guess I left evidence of it. But it didn't, at least. The type of bastard Bowery is trying to get to them. I struck that way, so he understands the principle of white blocks here, and we're not getting that loop there. So it puts this perhaps well, they're thinking, and oftentimes when you get to these, you want to kill him, and that part will be very revelatory as the girl gets this here. Now it threats the girl based on purchase. Purchase would be this part here. It threats the girl based on this purchase, and when it gets to broken, please forget, then please forget cannot be part of this. So it aligns this part of mom, and when it does, it cannot deal with the mediocrity of life. So once we get it, it finds itself there with France. So I cannot live there based on I would say based on just how this is lined. So it wasn't able to get that as a little girl or as a woman or when she was birthed or when she birthed her cubs. So what would happen is, I guess this part here would seek it with this and cannot find those things. So the meal on remains. We'll catch up. So we'll just catch up then with the meal on. And once we do, put settle matters here. Not you cannot. So if you were seeking to settle matters with this axis here, then you were false and has to be dealt with it perhaps as the Niagara Falls based on even this, based on that building. So you have to stay that way. Once the Guyanese realize that part, you will seek to overthrow your government. So the girl backs out. And once you are seeking that, it gets really bad. So you have to be able to stay away from this mom. And when you have to stay away from the mom and has another one here with the same principle, then it seeks that forbidden word. I am not sure why that has become so disastrous with Angleterre. Angleterre would welcome them fully in their land. They are vast and they have things. If I am punishing you for doing that with our pup this way, well, you have messed perhaps with them too much and they don't like you. You will be two race of people this way, based on this here, and have to sense it's coming to it. And I am happy because you guys are evil pup that needs to be matraced. Now you're sensing that you're not happy, so go and wash your face. Now the girl will wrap it up with this potentiality of speaking pro-Shenmo. Why can she deal with it? And it reveals probably here. If it reveals live there, why can she deal with it in the United States this way? Then it got too far based on that 105 riparian cord because of that type of funnel that was over the house and another type of mini funnel that was over there. If the little woman looked up, then that part didn't look good at all. And because of that part, the mom is congratulated this way only, why that part could put this type of blank. So this type of thing is telling you that part there cannot be approached. And it kind of puts Turkey this way, they're thinking, so they have to back out. Now once we get that part and Milan is still being pulled out, then Milan is getting this. So the girl kind of stays away from that type of fashion. If it confuses the child when she was on Fifth Avenue, then I guess it's this that lacks something of this. That lacks that it's encouraging to Milan. And when it's encouraging not, you're not happy people. So it will say you are at that part of the earth not. You are just this now. And could get worse before we have to go and support you guys. Now that part says with the evolution of things, it can change back to Greece. Based on my eyes handled, especially if she encountered a different species of fox lacking the pat. So it will put my eyes handled and this part in quotes. I would prefer quick. So this type of Milan, these parts. Now we know of this, we could have it here, but it supports this and this of this type of purchase. And then we have this part here, which is completely this of the child, so it kills. So once these things are done, then the mom could probably peep a bit. She's peeping a bit to see the evolution of the mental. So once that's done, I probably senses that she has to move forward that way. Oftentimes, based on how this revealed, I cannot not have this of that part there. So with this part here, I would have it with the real deal. So when that is taking place, America cheats because of the dispute of their thing. So oftentimes I have to sense that I may have to contact the Greek embassy to say I'm seeking a lawyer to attack you guys. So I'll see. If I call this Holland embassy, then I might have to seek them for a lawyer. They're suspecting, so they have to flee now and face them in Georgia. Now, because of it, they are not happy with Georgia, but Alabama has been fute with how the strategy is, because there's nothing here but mental issues. So now they're dealing with the airport as mental issues. So this part of would seek, and that's a blasphemy. I don't sense that this part here is a blasphemy. This part, once it's in here, then you are seeking why somebody releases that I'm full. So this part says that it's in this part of mom. So why is she putting it here? If she put FR, then I'm seeking where I got this from. As a child, if I did this, then it's situated where this lacks, this lack. So they're suspecting that to get to this part here, they're being confronted with massive purchases, so it becomes delicate. So this part here would say it's not something to be revealed. This is why she heads to courts type. Why it cannot be revealed. It just drops, man. Now, if this knows about it, then I call there, I suppose, for that, and leaves the Greeks alone. But if they're putting it against the eyes of this, whoever that is, then it will hit them. It just has to. Now, once this is done, then whoever is that person backs out and is not revealing themselves. Courts can, by the demands, and then they will sense that the people's attitudes, they're probably the most heifer type of pup based on that type of attack, and then comes into themselves and move it away. Now I'm probably looking for a Dutch lawyer, so it comes to a conclusion based on stay away from that there, and then up. And I have 37 minutes of convo, so I will see myself probably going a little further later. But I like it when it's short, not. I've discovered this, and the Grats there suspect that it cannot be. So the Grats are saying, where are you here? You could be here. Why is this having that? And that epoch is because of this they're suspecting, and because of this one here. So could have this type of situation going on. This with these type of pulp. So you brought them from India to fan you. So if it's the fan that causes this to not be able to be of this meal epoch, then the lawyer of that nation will not recognize this, they're thinking. So they want to get this, to examine this with the heavens. So you have destroyed the heavens. This you have destroyed. With this you have the thing. This is why this is kind of destroying you, where you know where this is. Well, this would have 3 components based on this first, and you're not going to be able to handle it. So it puts that I am not going to be able to handle it. Why is she calling us? Well, this is why I'm doing this part and this part of the prophecy, so that you don't know of this part here, and you don't know of the purchase of the Guyana, and leave the French people alone. And if you're functioning that part, then he's going to have 2 lawyers. So the lawyer, this part here, has to be blinded, so they will sense that they have to surrender. So oftentimes when you surrender, the girl has to pick up now, find herself on the road and heading to where now. So you have to be able to know you cannot do so. Why? It's not possible to just do so. If not, she's wayward. So you understand the principle now of how the heavens function. If we have institution of churches, this is kind of where she kind of was birthed with that grandmother. So when she took her to that church. So it will says this wants to be the steward of somebody else in the church to not, and that part says, why are you seeking my life? For that part becomes a blasphemy. So it puts them places. Now because of this here, I have to kind of chev why man will seek how to deal with her based on the dispute, and this will go straight into the courts of Angleterre. That's why the blasphemy is too much to seek this lady for those things in her tent. And her tent this way, based on cannot find it here, and they would know what they have seeked to pursue a life in the United States, and it's a false route. So the British cannot handle that type of manipulation. I mean, the person cannot, but has to deal with it. So they cannot deal with it because you put the Negro's birth to deal with it based on this era. And now you're sensing that you have to surrender. You have to sense that surrendering chirps and causes you to have to come back and deal with how I wanted to deal with it. Now, you cannot seek the little girl as your whore, and you cannot seek the little girl as your servant. And that says it sniped perhaps her for that part. So the British, the royals, will have to deal with it by backing out. Now, once I get to something of this, we're dealing with what is of this part. So that type of water street, if it's surrendered, that part, then you will get what the doggy says. I don't know who are doggies, what the doggy says on the water street. And if it's surprising, I guess it's the dispersion of that tree that caused it. I don't know why. It's probably the doggy or the bowery. So it's now because of it, I cannot deal with the destruction with how you guys are seeking the I don't know, whatever you call this minority to become minority. You will go and check, for example, the ant, and the ant. Oh, I'm not getting the ant over here. Yes, I'm getting the ant. That ant, and if you have to back out, then it says your sins will find you out based on that Christianity, of which was now you're going to blame yourself for being pushed into Christianity, and the Negroes OC, and the Coolies OC, and the Spanish OC, and this OC. So that part says you want it to be. If I did that part, then you will put that hurts on that mom too much. So you have to stay faithful to how the beginnings of the earth is, based on where you were placed. And once you were placed, cannot seek that there for yourselves. So you sense that it hits and puts you to be accused by the British. Once that has been, America cannot change. So that could be a difficult task for the British. Because of this part here, you will find your way. And the lady also. With that being said, bisou. Hopefully it comes with a positive vibe and not something that says, mom doesn't understand what that means again, and have to go through a ritual. So it will say, I kind of put a pause on the girl's life. So you can say mental, because this is a little much for her. This also, and has to deal with it, and revs now to deal with it. why she can exhiberate her pearls and then go. So it kind of send a message to man that heaven is bizarre, but the bizarrety says you like living, and that close that